Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I am just wondering what Trevor is up to, what Jason is doing. Those are the two main characters in two great books that are written by award-winning author Larry Deiman, who joins us today. And by the way, the books are Canyon Springs Wash Murders and Incident at the Historical Museum. He's working on book 3, which is very exciting. And we get to see behind the scenes how this all kind of plays out and how the book progresses. Larry, great having you back on. How's everything?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, last time we talked, I want to say we're up to chapter maybe 9 in book 3. Where are we at?
Well, we're getting a little farther down the road. I just finished chapter 10, and we're just really close to the two teams coming together. I think around chapter 12, the two teams are going to come together, because right now Trevor is in the hospital trying to get his blood sugar under control from his diabetic event. And shortly after that, we're going to have the two teams come together. And when they do, then they're going to the whole team's going to be together pursuing both of these two, I'm going to want to say convicts, because they're both convicts. They're both people of interest in multiple murders and multiple chaos that they've caused throughout the U.S. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Is he going to get out of the hospital in time to investigate it and actually keep up on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He is. I'm trying to make it as short as possible. So he's actually going to spend less time in the hospital than I actually did. And I was there for about a week, and he's going to be only there for 2 or 3 days. So we're gonna.
Well, he is Trevor. Come on.
He's Trevor, after all. Yes. He can do no wrong. He is on a pedestal. Yes.
He heals fast. That's what it is. That's yeah. Very exciting. It's I want to get in your head when you're writing, because it's got to be, when you have something in your mind, it's got to be so exciting, knowing that I love to have things to look forward to. That's just the way my life is. And when I don't, I'm like, all right. Well,
me too. Yeah, me too.
But that being said, when you have an idea in your head, when you're at your, call it the day job, it's got to be so exciting, like just invigorating, knowing, yeah, I'm going home today, and I'm gonna work on another chapter or finish up this chapter because I've got stuff. I got to work on it.
Yeah, I've got these ideas in my head of things I want to do, things that I want Trevor and Jason to do, and yeah, I can't write it at home or here, but I can write it at home. I mean, so I've got all these ideas popping in my head because of just conversations I'm having with people, or something comes up and it's like, I wonder. And then I get these ideas to add it to the book, and I can't wait to get home and just kind of jot it down and like, okay, this is, now, and I do this all the time. I send myself emails, from my corporate account to my personal account. I send myself emails to remind me of what I was talking about or thinking about, at say 10 o'clock this morning or noon or something like that, So I do that. I do that all the time. I was even doing that when I was working from home full time. I would just jot down a note from my work computer to my home computer, to my, so I don't lose the thoughts,
Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and actually start writing?
Yeah, I've done that a number of times. In fact, when I was writing Incident at the Historical Museum, I did that all the time because I had these ideas, things that I wanted these guys to do. And I was afraid that if I didn't get up and just start writing, that I would forget about it, by morning, and I don't know if it's like a dream I had, or I just get a thought in my head. And if I don't put it down on paper, I'm afraid that I'm going to forget. So yeah, I when I was writing my first book, I got up a lot in the middle of the night, a lot of sleepless nights when I was working my first book, because I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do, and now a lot of those ideas are manifesting themselves in the other books. I mean, I had ideas that wouldn't necessarily work for the first book, but then I had this folder on my computer, ideas for book 2. And then when I was doing book 2, I had these ideas for book 3. The ideas I had didn't quite fit with the storyline I had in book 2 or book 1. So I would think of an idea for book 3, and what I want to, what I can do. And what's nice is that I already had the storyline for book 1 pretty much in my mind, even to the ending of the book before I even got there. When I was writing it. Same thing with book 2. And it's kind of, what's cool is that you get these ideas that are going to be ending up as future books for me. I mean, I've got ideas right now that I don't think are going to fit with the storyline I've got for book 3, but that just tells me I got a book 4 coming.
Ah, interesting. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got these notes in this folder in my Outlook that just ideas for book 4. So I can keep on going. I've got all these ideas. I can just keep on going. So right now, book 3 is underway, and it's got a path already that I've forged out for it. So there are things that are going to happen along the way, but a lot of the ideas that pop in my head overnight or while I'm talking to people at work or whatever may not necessarily fit in that storyline. But
I am jealous. I'm jealous in one regard because I don't remember dreams. And I know you're supposed to write them down when you wake up so you don't forget. I got nothing when I wake up anyway. But friends tell me, "Oh my God, I had a dream last night about this." Blah, blah. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And I consider myself a creative person. I'm nothing. I'm losing out.
Well, when most of my dreams I can't remember in the morning either, and you just don't. But for some reason, my subconscious holds on to these ideas that I have for ideas for my books. I mean, I can keep going. I could have a whole series of books, by the time I'm done. Right now I'm on 3, so I guess that constitutes as a series, right? If I've got more than 2,
sure, yeah.
I mean, I'm calling it that.
Okay. It is.
So, but that's where I mean, if I'm dreaming about something, I wake up and I might just I have a pad that I keep next to my bed just for these occasions, and I'll just turn the light real quick and I'll just jot it down. This is my dog off completely because she's sound asleep and the light wakes her up. But I jot down all these ideas that I just dreamt of, or at least I think I just dreamt of, and then in the morning I'll put those ideas into more of a, not a storyline, but in more of an idea. I'll kind of expand on it and make it more of an actual idea that I can throw into a book. So book 4, I do not know what the storyline is going to be for book 4. I haven't come close to finishing book 3 yet. I mean, I figure 25 chapters probably. I'm in 10. I just finished 10, so I'm going to be starting chapter 11 here pretty soon. And we're already halfway through the book, sort of halfway through the book. I know pretty much where we're going from here. I know how the book's going to end. I'm just not sure how I'm going to end it, but I do know how the ending is going to come out. I just need to get there, and I need to figure out what course of action these guys are going to take to get there. And when they get there, it's going to be the whole team, not just part of a team over here and part of a team over here. It's going to be the whole team together. They're going to be pursuing these guys as a team, and I without any giving anything away for the end of the book, somebody's going to die. So there's a little tidbit.
I can tell you who it's not going to be.
Yeah, it's not going to be Trevor.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I doubt Jason. I doubt Jason is.
No, Jason's not going to die. I mean,
Right.
In book 4, I'm actually thinking that Jason's going to get shot, but not fatally shot.
Gotcha.
Trevor, haven't decided on him yet. He's the star of the series. I mean, I can't see him getting hurt. I mean, the diabetes thing was just to kind of bring him down to earth a little bit, but I don't want him to get hurt on the job. I mean, he's young. They're both young. Well, they're all young. I mean, Austin is probably younger than the two of them. He's probably in his late 20s, whereas these guys are in their 30s. See, I've never specified how old these guys are. Now, but in my mind, Trevor and Jason are in their low to mid 30s.
I don't think you need to specify because it's whatever we want to read into. And that's
Exactly.
what it is. If I identify with Trevor or Jason, it's the age that I'm going to think that they are, and that's perfectly okay. They each could be 65. If they could pull off what they're pulling off, it doesn't really matter what age, right?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And I thought about this for like the possibility of movies. I would love to see my books in movies. I mean, in fact, when I'm writing these books, I can picture it on the big screen. So I'm thinking in that term. But when I get to that point, in my mind, they're in their low to mid 30s, because what Trevor's doing, or the things that Trevor's doing, and the way he's acting, is what I would have liked to be doing when I was at that age. I don't want them to be my age today. I mean, I turned 65 this year, so I'm not looking for them to be my age now. I'm looking for them to be my age back 30 years ago.
Hey, I can relate. 35. That was just, a couple of years ago, whatever.
You wish.
Trade, it's a secret.
Trade secret. Yes, I didn't say anything.
You did. I wanted to ask this question, and you started going down the path for it. But when you're writing now, like book one was different because that was a whole new experience. And then, you jumped into the pool and now you got it. Do you think movie, when you're writing, does it help you in terms of your writing, or it's an offshoot? Like, well, if it goes here, movie, that's great, but I'm concentrating on this. Or is it all kind of merged together, loosely connected when you're writing?
It's kind of merged together, I would say. I mean, from day one, I've always thought that, especially when I was writing, getting close to the end of my first book, I was thinking to myself, God, this would be a great movie.
Mm.
Especially when I reread the book after I finished writing it. My first thought went to, God, this would be great on the big screen. And then when I was doing book two, definitely had that in the back of my mind. This would be a great sequel to book one on the big screen. Because book two, I mean, you look at a lot of your movies today, the ones that really make it hot in the box office are the ones that have action,
Mm-hmm.
And my second book has a lot of action in it. Book one does have quite a bit of action, but book two has a lot more action. Almost every chapter in book two has action in it. Somebody dies, some big thing happens where there's a lot of action going on right and left. And almost from the get-go on book one or book two is action packed, right from when they started out the first chapter and ended up going to this little town in Texas. There was a lot of action before they even got on the plane to go to Texas, So a lot of things come to play when you're writing a book, especially when you're talking about something like a movie. I've always thought that both book one and book two would be great on the big screen, but and book three is also pretty, up to this point, has been pretty action packed as well. There are not as many action scenes as there were in book two, because I really went overboard on book two, but there's still a lot of action scenes in book three, and I can see these books, all of them, up on the big screen at some point. But somebody out in Hollywood, or somebody has to get interested in them.
Yeah,
how it works.
Well, that's the next I'll call it challenge, to get their attention, and but that's only going to happen as you continue on the path you are, and getting the word out there and getting people interested. And
I think that the more I write, and the more publicity that I get on the first two books is going to really help sell like the next book. All the books have not done as well as I would have liked them to do, but that's mostly because, as my publisher says it, you're not known. People don't know who you are. So a lot of the publicity that you guys have been doing for me, and that PBR has been doing for me, has been just to get my name out there, so people know who I am, and that I'm the one that wrote these books. And I want people to recognize my name with the books, and
Yep.
that's what's gonna sell the books, I think. You know, and who knows, the billboards and the kiosks went up this weekend in New York on Times Square.
Sure.
They get a lot of people come across that, and the kiosks are at eye level. So, that's great advertising. It lets people know who I am, and that I'm associated with these books. And I've got my website up there too. So anybody can buy my books at any time from that website. And there are links all over my site to allow you to buy the books, both
Yep.
books.
Well,
And
thank you.
as I write more books and they get published, there'll be pages added to that website for those books.
And just think of it too, with the billboards in Times Square in New York City. How many people are on holiday, they call it, or on vacation, that, hey, what do I'm going to go back to the room, and what are we going to do? Yeah, let me try a book. There's a new book. I just saw that up there. It's got to be good because it's in Times Square. And
it must be, it must be good if it's in Times Square, right?
Right, exactly.
That was kind of my thoughts,
Yeah, it's it goes back to the old thing, as seen on TV. As seen on TV. Well, is it any better than this or this? But it was
exactly.
And I'm not minimizing your books at all. I'm just giving an example.
No.
That
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that having them up on the billboards, especially in Times Square, which is probably the most visible intersection in the country, if not the world.
Yeah.
The billboard is the one that sits right next to where the ball drops on New Year's Eve.
Sure.
People recognize that, and the kiosks, there's like 6 of them lining Times Square, and they're all at eye level. So that, along with the billboard, pretty much inundates my books and my website all up and down Times Square. So I've never been there, so I've never been to New York.
Wow.
I never have.
Yeah.
But you kind of hope. I mean, I've got ideas. I'm hoping that people, the right people also see those billboards.
Sure.
Like people that have these nighttime talk shows. It'd be great. That would be great advertising if I were to be invited on a talk show. I can talk about it just like I do with you, and millions of people see those shows. And you get endorsement from one of those guys, and it's like, it's like candy to a baby.
Yeah.
So
you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Who's going to see it? Who's going to hear about it? And I think there's a new resurgence for people reading. It kind of went away. COVID brought it back. More people spending more time.
I think so too.
Schedules are different now, and more people have the time to do that, where maybe they didn't previously.
I think people nowadays, after the pandemic, people are kind of reevaluating, not necessarily their lives, but what they do in their lives.
Definitely.
And I think people are being more relaxed, or they're taking their time on things that everything before the pandemic seemed to be like on a fast track for everybody. And I think that the pandemic kind of slowed me down a little bit. It certainly slowed me down, as far as things that I do in my regular life. I don't take things for granted. I do things more easily than I did before, more casually. I've done things in my life to keep me from being stressed. And I think a lot of people are doing the same thing. And to me, reading a book de-stresses me. I love to sit down and just read a book, and I know that most people are out for technology and ebooks and audiobooks and things like that. And, I just like to be holding a book in my hand. And I'm hoping that a lot of people are the same way and will buy my books online. I know that Barnes and Noble does have, you can order the books from a bookstore. I don't know how many Barnes and Nobles actually have my books in their stores, but I know that you can order them from them and they will deliver them to there, so.
I find with audiobooks, the people that in my circle, when I, talk about books and reading, it's people that are on a busy schedule. They don't want to do it just because they want to replace the handheld book. They just do it just because it fits into their lives. I think they
Yeah.
would prefer. And in terms of absorbing what you're reading, it's never going to get any better than holding something, even with a screen, because after a while on a screen, you get fatigue. There's, they have blue light and all of that. It's and it's a certain generation that still reads as well. Somebody who's 25 may not be inspired to pick up a book the same way somebody who's, let's say, 45 or 55 might.
Right. Agreed. They're going to go more for the ebook or the audiobook. And I can tell you that neither one of my books are on audiobooks right now. Someday they will be, but they aren't today. But they are all on ebook, so they can, they can buy the books through, what is it? What is that?
Audible.com. That's or Kindle.
Kindle, yeah, Kindle. They can buy them on Kindle from the Amazon site and from Barnes and Noble. They can order the Kindle itself or the book on Kindle if they have it.
But what's interesting? Because we're talking generational here.
Yeah.
If it goes to the big screen, it will appeal to a younger demographic, because you take a look at all the Marvel movies, superheroes, all of that. If you look at where they're geared, it's definitely a younger audience. Even the the actors, the secondary actors, all of it is pretty much for that demographic. But you know what?
It really is.
I'm not in that demographic, obviously, but I'll still watch it. Doesn't even matter to me. I love it. It's all good.
Yeah, and I think you're right on that, because I was every year I like to watch the Emmys,
or the Oscars. You mean the Oscars?
The Oscars.
Okay.
Yeah, the Oscars. I like watching the Oscars because I like to see what movies are winning the Oscars, what are the best actors and all those. And there were there were some that are old, that have been around for forever, it seems like.
Sure.
But I noticed that there were a lot more of actors that were of the younger generation, a lot younger than me for sure. And I can tell you that you're absolutely right. I can see the demographics being more in the 25 to maybe 35 range, because that's how I see my characters. And if they do decide to make a movie out of my books, that's where I would want it to go.
Right.
Make them younger. I don't want them to be my age. I want them to be 30.
Just promise me one thing, Larry. If it happens and you win an Oscar where somebody gets nominated, please don't have Trevor slap Jason at the Oscars. It's just probably a bad idea.
No.
If it goes down that road.
No, I don't think we'll go down that road. We'll leave that to Will Smith. Let him just, let him have that accolade, because we won't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I would definitely want to make sure that they are present and they get the accolades along with me.
Sure.
Whoever the actors are, but yeah, I can picture it down the road. Yeah, way down the road, but I can see it.
I honestly can do the same. I see it based on the adventures. There's nothing similar to it in terms of storyline, in terms of two characters, and it's exciting. Like, there's other books out there, don't have to name authors, they've been around forever. Doesn't excite me. I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't pick them up.
I look at my books, and I've read them a dozen times, but I look at my books and it's like, I don't see that in a lot of the other books that are out there. I mean, and I look at a lot of the authors that have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
And they're constantly writing books, and there are those that always have movies out there, movies on TV or whatever for their books. And I want to see my books on the big screen at some point. And I think it would be a good to be a good thing for people to see, for that generation to see.
Hmm.
You know,
Sure.
I would certainly love to see it. You know, but it can only be an accolade for me, right? But I
And
mean,
I think
I
that'd be
think
okay.
I think it'd be okay.
You know
Yeah,
what? I have to say, while we're talking movies, that it's nice to see that Trevor has some challenges with diabetes, and
mhm,
he can fall a little bit from here. And
yeah.
I was watching recently Spider-Man and a Batman movie, and then I went back
Oh,
to Dark Knight. I haven't seen it in forever. My
oh yeah.
daughter is interested in it now, so we watched it together. And when you see even just Batman, he's he he got knocked down a number of times, keeps getting
Yeah,
up. And
yeah.
side note, a really good friend of mine won an Academy Award for the makeup in that movie, and he lives right around
Wow,
the corner from me. Yeah,
nice.
so if you need him when your book comes out, I'll connect you. I mean, when the movie
Okay,
comes out, I'll connect you. Yeah.
sounds like a plan. Sounds like a
Yeah.
plan. But yeah, you're right. I mean, not every book or not every movie has to have a hero that's put above everybody else on a pedestal where he does no wrong. I mean, yeah, you want him to get beat up a little bit, or make him earthbound, I guess is the best word I can use for him. Make him earthbound,
Sure.
and that's really what I'm trying to do with Trevor, is make him earthbound. I mean, Jason has had some tragedy in his life. Um, Book two and book three, you know, but he perseveres, and now I need to bring Trevor down to that same level, instead of making him up there. And every book has to have a hero, but that hero doesn't have to be on a pedestal. It's just the way I've characterized Trevor. I've made him more human now, and I think people are going to identify with that more than they did with the first two books. I mean, first book is more of an introduction of who he is, him and Trevor both, who they are. But book two kind of puts him more in the driver's seat, so to speak. You know,
Gotcha.
he's kind of driving the storyline that they're all in book two. So I think it kind of falls in that train of thought, so to speak.
Is there a movie or series that you would say comes in the same category as Trevor and Jason and what they do and the action? Anything that clicks in your head, even
Mm,
if it came out 10 years ago? Nothing.
no, not really. No, I don't think I can't think of anything that would even come close.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there are, but I mean, I haven't seen all the movies, but I'm sure there are movies that have a similar mantra, maybe. But in my mind, no, I don't think so. I can't recall of anything that
Yeah.
would be in that general category. I would say, I mean, it's an action movie, but it would be more of a drama slash action movie. I mean, it's a story. I mean, most movies, I guess, have a story. And mine would be a story, but I'd like to think it's a unique story. And book two is definitely a unique story. I've never heard of anything close to that.
So
You know,
where in the world do you want them to go next? I mean, we're just about out of time, but how does that happen? Like, I'm serious. I say this every time, but I look up and wow.
the
Huh.
time goes by pretty quick, doesn't it?
Way too quick. Where in the
Yeah.
world would you want them to go? Or, where we talked about Mexico. Is there anywhere else, on your radar floating out there?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking that we're going to have some kind of an incident somewhere around the Colorado Rockies,
Hmm.
but I haven't decided that yet. Right now they're just leaving Minneapolis, so they spent some time in Minneapolis because they had some challenges to overcome there,
Sure.
including Trevor being bound to a hospital, Hennepin County Medical Center for a couple of days.
Right.
But we do know that at some point the whole crew is going to end up in Mexico, or I should say at the border. Maybe not in Mexico, but at the border somewhere. Haven't
Well,
decided where.
One would assume that Trevor has really good insurance with the FBI for his hospital stay.
I would think so.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about how he's paying for it. Just that he's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that he came close.
I'd like to believe he's not getting a separate bill for anesthesia and all that, but whatever. I digress. Yeah.
Like I did.
Been there, done that. That's why I'm bringing that up.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's expensive to almost die in a hospital.
It really is. Expensive. Let's not go there. Author and just an amazing guy of Incident at the Historical Museum in Canyon Springs, Wash Murders. And also book 3, are we still going with?
We're still going with Trevor's Revenge.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to seeing what happens next. Larry Deiman, great having you on with us.
Great having to be here. I'm great. I'm grateful for the time that you've given to me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, and thank you for the behind scenes look at the creative process of writing books that are so fantastic. I think it's exciting. It's almost like the curtain pulls back and we see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I like that. I think I like that the most because it's really, it kind of gets my juices flowing as well.
Sure.
Because it makes me think about things. Oh, I could do this.
Right. Yeah.
Or that.
I'm gonna put the challenge out there. We better be up to chapter 12 the next time we get together.
Hopefully I will be. I mean, we'll see. That's 2 more chapters. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Great talking with you, Larry.
Yeah, great talking with you. Thanks a lot, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.